Hi, I'm Justin.
Also, I hate the way my voice sounds, so if you can do whatever Photoshop does to voices, make me sound awesome.
And this is my lovely friend,
The beauty in the eyes of the beholder, and it's just about getting into the seat of being the beholder.
Hayley.
I don't think you have to be particularly perceptive. I just think you have to look up.
This podcast is mostly just her telling me stories.
If you expose yourself to the possibility that this might be really awkward, there can be something just really cool on the other side of it.
She thinks that her life and way of looking at things are
Oh, I was kind of waiting on you. I thought you were getting your stuff ready. You're waiting on me?
pretty normal.
You got to edit out all the misinformation about the Amish.
Maybe you can relate.
I would like a chance to re-sing the Amish Paradise.
If you want lighthearted stories
All right, you want to talk about goats?
and stream of consciousness,
I just woke up and needed some friends, and so I bought them.
then you're gonna like the Sunny Side Up podcast.
Sunny side up, sunny side up, sunny side up, sunny side up.
So, if you're at all like me, you may feel that you're living in a world that can be a bit overwhelming and confusing at times. I'm also a huge fan of podcasts, documentaries, docudramas, stories, and of just information in general. Between all of that and the social media and news, sometimes our brains can feel like they're on overload. Hayley and I hope that this podcast can be something of an antidote to all of that. Like little jello shots of joy and distraction. None of it is too serious or really too informative. Mostly it's just two friends who have conversational chemistry talking about whatever enters the minds of relatively ADHD people. We hope you enjoy.
Do you like to explore abandoned locations?
You know, the one time that we did that Ollie is normally the rule follower between me and her. I'm the not rule follower. She is the rule follower.
Right.
I like
on the way home, the amusement park,
the amusement park. Okay, years ago, when the kiddos were younger and still at home, we were going somewhere. I don't remember where it is because I'm geographically challenged, but we stopped somewhere at an abandoned freaking amusement park.
That was leaving my house.
Okay. And you were the inspiration. I remember Ollie was like, this is totally something Hayley would do, so let's do it. And I'm like, the whole time that we find a spot on the side of the road to then climb a fence to then walk into this decrepit forest to then start finding broken down amusement things slung over this multi-acre horror show. I was like, I don't know who my wife is. I'm in for the adventure. But talk
How
about
did we get
hepatitis
here?
A. You monkey bit Ollie and gave her this exploring adventure bug that she does not have normally. And the whole time I was like, we're probably all going to go to jail or we're going to get cannibalized by a rabid clown that's still running around and this is mine.
That didn't realize the amusement park shut down. What a terrifying thought.
It was, but yeah, it was fun to do, but I was genuinely worried that we were going to all go to federal or state prison for it. So yeah, normally I'm a little, creepy, abandoned, whatever. That's not my game.
I remember y'all going to that. I went to it broad daylight. We got a lot of ticks. It was tick season. I do remember that. When you said woods, that was legitimate. Those were abandoned fairgrounds, and next to the fairgrounds was an amusement park.
Yeah.
And at the time that it was operating, it was still kind of creepy and run down because the family that set it up, they maybe had, I think they had those parking lot fair things that travel, the parking lot carnivals.
Yep.
So as rides
Super
would...
safe way for you and your children to enjoy
Speaking
a
of
Saturday afternoon.
hepatitis, right?
Yeah. Well, if the loose bolt doesn't get you.
But as their rides would maybe fall out of commission for the traveling circuit there, they would set it up in permanent location and try to create a permanent amusement park. So that's where a lot of those rides came from.
This was the where amusement park rides go to die.
But as the retirement home.
Well, okay, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The retirement home.
Yes.
Sorry, I shouldn't call retirement homes where you go to die. But let's face it. When my children finally put me in a retirement home, I know that's my last.
You obviously
stretch.
haven't been seeing the TikToks about the retirement home in Florida.
The retirement homes in Florida are legendary.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
It's where you can get
Where you're not going there to die.
and
That's right.
learn how to play card games and do new dances. No, they live large in the what is the name of
Is
it the Villages? The Villages, I think, is the largest retirement home complex either in the world or for sure in this country, and it's amazing. And yes, I have been in there. And it's fantastic. I will just note here, I was not having relations with 70-plus-year ladies, but I don't remember what all we were doing. I was working for some company. We were doing something construction-wise.
Extremely vague.
Extremely vague. I've literally forgotten now because I did so many of those odd jobs. But I remember thinking, these are some really happy, peppy, speeding around on their golf cart old folks. Like, they're having the time of their life. And I did think to myself, like, not even joking, like, if I hit a point where I was no longer useful to society and my children didn't want to change my diaper and all the stuff, like, not a bad way to ride out your last, like, 5-10 years with a bunch of old geezers who are also having a great time. Like, everybody seemed to be having a good time. Friends, like, built in. It's like a cult. Oh, my goodness. It's like a built-in, like, you have to stay kind of in this thing. We have our own system here, our own fire department, our own grocery stores, and you have community and games, and it's not a bad way to go. Not a bad way to go.
I love that you just made this plan for yourself. We now know
Shove me off into a Florida retirement home.
What will happen there.
Yeah.
That was that's a little more optimistic for the humans than it was for the amusement park rides at the Royal Land.
Royal Land is what it was called.
Mm-hmm. Because the family that set it up were the Royals. So I worked in Meridian at a paint factory for a hot minute. And
like a paint factory that manufactures paint that you put on a wall?
Yes, most of it were coatings that would have gone on like metal things and outdoor things. They were famous for did you ever see PV amplifiers back 80s, 90s? PV amplifiers, and they were kind of black, and they had this like a gummy black coating that they were painted with, and it was developed there.
What is a PV amplifier? Is it like
it's just a brand. PV brand was
like an amplifier for like music?
Yes. And they
I know exactly what you're talking about then. Yes, that like kind of clumpy, gummy. Yeah. Oh, you made that.
Well, yes.
By yourself.
Well, so Greg, the chemist who started the coatings facility, he's the one who developed it, and PV was a Meridian-based company, and so it went on all of their things. It's just a few years later they moved their manufacturing to China, and
dang it, China.
Yeah, and I was like, did you try to like get intellectual property rights over your coatings? And he was like, China doesn't recognize any American copyrights anyway, so they just did their own thing, and that was kind of the end of that. But yeah, just general coatings. I watched them mix paint every day, and that is so satisfying.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, neat. Ordering
the pigments and everything else. But one of the guys who worked there, his name is Dinky, and he is a bodybuilder by hobby.
With a name like Dinky, you have to be a bodybuilder.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like he would encourage me to be healthier and make better choices with my food. Thanks, and he would be like, are you really going to eat that? And he didn't say it in a judgy way the way a creeper would say it to a woman. He said it because it wasn't 60-30-10 in the proper proportions of protein, fat,
I felt that. I didn't feel like
Dinky.
I think he's like concerned about your metabolic like balance. Yeah.
Yes. So fond memories of Dinky. But Dinky and Greg were one or the other, both had lived in Meridian, and one was telling me about the royal family and how those rides, even in their heyday, even in the Royal Land's great moments, you would be on a merry-go-ride or a tilt-a-whirl or something, and it would just like run down mid-ride, and they'd have to go crank the generator to get it going and get it finished. So
I love that.
It didn't disappoint even in those days. You still had those things to look forward to.
Yeah, amazing.
If you wanted to break in. So we went through it. I felt creepy at one part, and I knew that we were probably too close to the boxcar where somebody might be living, because you got the feeling that somebody was in it. But nothing actually happened other than we got ticks.
Yeah.
The place that we would have been closer to danger, probably. Well, there's been a few. There was somehow we just end up at abandoned places. Like there's an abandoned antebellum home in the Mississippi Delta, and it was creepy enough that I was like, did we bring a ghost home with us, or were there like meth heads in the house while we were there? Like I definitely felt something was kind of watching us.
Right. Or a meth head ghost. Don't forget about that.
Well, like
worst of both worlds.
True. There was a house near us. We were actually there because we were considering buying the property. So in that case, it wasn't just mischief or whatever. We were looking, and there was a little outbuilding. And we opened. Tim's like, do you get the feeling that maybe somebody's watching us or somebody's looking at us?
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, it does kind of feel like that. But we're still looking around to see what all's coming with this house with the overgrown shrubs and everything. We opened the shed, and there were animal carcasses strung up. Yeah.
No.
Yes. And
like animal carcasses, like large enough to like somebody tanned. And
possums, armadillos, like small things that you could probably hang from trot line string. Like nothing too terribly heavy.
Okay.
But
are we thinking like 8, or are we thinking like some kind of ritual sacrifice?
I don't know. Yeah, like 8 might be a lot because it was a smaller building, but 5 maybe, 4, 5, more than 1. Wow. They weren't.
That's fantastic.
Was it a science experiment?
Yeah.
Were they
Let's hope for the best.
Eating it? I don't know. So we left.
Good call.
Thank you.
I support that.
Yes.
Hello, lovely friends. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And it would mean the world if you would tell other people about this podcast and maybe even spam your social media accounts with just how much you're enjoying it. If you are, of course. Also, commenting and rating us on whatever platform you're downloading or streaming from is incredibly helpful to a little startup podcast like this one. On the other hand, if you are dissatisfied with your listening experience, please leave all of that hate on someone else's podcast. Just maybe to confuse them a little bit, right? But most of all, we hope you keep looking up and looking for the sunny side of life.